It's been 7 years since I last saw you, and I wish it was 7 more. Knew you for 2, and by the end of the first, well, the writing was on the wall. I saw a change when you started giving time to the girl I gave my heart to. Never confessed it at the time, but to tell you the truth, I was sweet on you. Sweet on you, I was sweet on you. Lord knows I was sweet on you. Never confessed it at the time, but to tell you the truth, I was sweet on you. Now to take each person in isolation is to take the partial as full. Let loose together your breath, stormy weather, though you'd laugh to try and pull the wool. Why do you feel each other's darkness? Why do you drink to hide the blues? In the night I think you're trouble, in the day I'm sweet on you. Sweet on you, I was sweet on you. Lord knows I was sweet on you. In the night I think you're trouble, in the day I'm sweet on you. We'd stay out all night dancing to songs we didn't even know. We didn't like them either, didn't care in the neon glow. But I was dreaming on the morning, I was waiting on the sunrise. Because in each other's presence you become hard to recognize. Oh, in each other's presence you become hard to recognize. Oh, your mother always treated me kindly. She carried a sparkle in her eyes. Yours were the same, but I had now. They just tell of the stormy skies. Oh, and I wonder if she finds peace now. Whether you still put the color in her cheeks. Whether you moved home, I bet you didn't. Whatever the weather be like in the peaks. Oh, we'd gather round the kitchen table, Raikkonen on the stereo. We'd sing along if we were able, little sister Maria. But you never once sang with us, you just retired to your room. Oh, and if you don't like Raikkonen, how could I ever be sweet on you? If you don't like Raikkonen, how could I ever be sweet on you? Sweet on you, sweet on you. Lord knows how I was ever sweet on you. You didn't like the Cuban rhythm, you never liked words that told the truth. Shame on you, shame on you. With your chart house and your tabloid news. If I had a choice between you and your mother, I know which one I'd choose. Oh, if I had a choice between you and your mother, I know which one I'd choose.
Blair Dunlop, welcome to The Right Note.
Thanks for having me.
Starting with the most important question of all. Do you still have the Strokes' Room on Fire, or did you chuck it out as soon as you realised you hated it? Which I should
chucked it away.
point out
Do you know
is
what?
the first album.
I left it, that's amazing knowledge by the way, I left it on the side of a, I'd call it a mountain, you'd call it a hill, in the Lake District when I went walking with a party from my school, and I dropped a load of CDs out of my bag, and Strokes' Room on Fire was one of the furthest near the edge, and I just weighed it up. How much do I like this record? How much do I value my life? And I left it. So it's still, well, it's probably blown off now, but it's on the side of a mountain, yeah.
Someone could excavate in 500 years, 1,000 years, and find this artefact, and they'll think it was a venerated object. In fact, it's the first album you bought and the one you hate. Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of that record. I love the Strokes, I just didn't. And to be fair, I've since listened to the album, and I've enjoyed it a lot more than I did when I was 12 or whatever. Yeah.
So you bought another copy?
No, I didn't buy another copy. No.
So you at least helped them out by buying another copy.
I could do, you know. No, they've done well enough though.
They've done okay. Yeah, they're all right. What was it about the Strokes that appealed to you in the first place, and what was it you didn't like?
I was an indie kid, I think, initially. There was a lot of, I think, is this it? Or is it This Is It? Is this it? I never can remember. Is this it? Whatever. The one with Sunday on and Last Night. I loved that album as a kid. I remember watching it on flipping, what was it, VH1 or the music TV. That's what we kind of would watch. I just thought Albert Hammond Jr.'s afro was the coolest thing ever, and he wore his guitar like a necklace, like up here. I was into a lot of indie stuff, a lot of that kind of East Coast grungy stuff, but then the UK indie stuff, like, you know, bands like Razorlight and Embrace, and that's what I was into until I found traditional folk and then West Coast Americana, and that's kind of formed my songwriting, informed it more so than the indie. That was just the first kind of real guitar music or, you know, instrument-led music that I had access to as a kid. You
dropped the guitar a little lower.
Dropped it a bit lower. Yeah. Because I'm a small person anyway, so I need a bit of weight down there.
It shows though that, I mean, obviously pop, rock, other music is part of what you've always listened to. Now, I mean, folk blending into pop and rock, or the other way around, that's existed as long as pop and rock have existed. Folk predating them, obviously, but artists like you are still expected to explain why you move from one to the other or incorporate one in the other. Does that get a bit tiresome for you, given that you probably don't draw that line yourself?
Well, I've just been talking to the radio over here about the different definitions and the lines that are drawn between genres over here versus in the UK. And for me, it's a lot more freeing over here, the band of folk. So I always get asked, as a folk musician. And coming from the UK, coming from a background of traditional music, my parents were involved in traditional song, and I grew up going to proper like tankard folk festivals, Beers Down Here, Morris dancing, all of that, and I love it. It's part of my identity, and those kind of ballads and that chronological storytelling has informed a lot of my writing since my first album. But I certainly don't think I'm a folk artist, because that's the way that I would define it, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'd sooner just not define it as anything, but I realise we have to use labels because they're useful. But over in Australia, over here, it's wicked. You know, folk is just a much larger umbrella, and it's anything that's based in roots or music of the people, which is the true sense of the word.
It's at the Morrissey line. I thought if you had an acoustic guitar, I meant that you were a protest singer.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in a way, you seem as comfortable with Teddy as Richard Thompson. And, you know, songs like Up on Craig's and Eternal Optimist, there's both. You can hear both of them in there.
Awesome. Yeah, I really like that, because I really like both of them. I never set out to be overtly historical or political or write in the third person, because I find writing quite a cathartic process. So when I'm writing about myself, I'm doing what I feel like I have to do. I feel like I have to do it. But then when I sit down and write about something a little bit more specific, like a historical account, like in Craigside, or a political or social comment, more it's like Eternal Optimist. I don't do it for the sake of doing it. It's just because I feel like I want to do it, and I don't sit down because I think the folkies would like this or whatever. And I think I was maybe guilty of that to an extent in my first album or two, just purely because that was my demographic that I was playing to, and I needed to make a living. I still need to make a living, but I've found my voice more as the albums have gone on, and I tend to not put songs into boxes in my head, because I feel like that's going to temper the writing process itself. So I'm just going to write a song. It's about X, it's about Y, it's about myself, it's about this or that. You can call it folk if you want, or you can just listen to it for the sake of listening to it.
I just have to ask before we move on. Did you have your own tankard carried around?
No,
around your neck?
no, I'm not proper folk.
Disappointing. Well, clearly you're not proper folk.
I
Yeah,
know,
you won't make it.
And I only get bum fluff around here. I don't get proper, chop. I can't grow like chops. And I can't tie it in a plait. That's like a thing that some.
Give it time. You're only young.
Yeah.
Given you grew up, as you said, with folk music around you, and it would have informed the way you thought about how songs are written. What did you have to learn and unlearn before you made Gilded and this new album, which I'll just hold up for the camera?
As a songwriter, yeah. Kind of what I alluded to just a minute ago. That's a really good question. Like, it's relinquishing the preemption of what other people are going to think about it, because the folk scene is I must give the scene credit. It's an incredibly inclusive scene in terms of everyone just come and be part of this music. We want you to understand the tradition and whatever. But then once they got hold of you, it's like, oh, okay, well, you got to like pay homage to the tradition, and that can be quite constrictive, like, and it can kind of choke you as a writer. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You need to. I need to feel unshackled somewhat, and I felt by Gilded, a lot of stuff happened in my personal life around the time of Gilded, and I just a little bit more carefree. I mean, I was like, I wasn't carefree at all at the time, but it made me, in terms of what I was producing, I was like, I don't care about that anymore. I just need to write what I want to write about, and I think there's a correlation between me feeling the freedom to write what I want to express myself, freely, and like the quality of the music. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think, as you touched on, I think one of the things that has changed is you're freer. You become freer in writing about yourself, rather than from the perspective of an observer or telling a more familiar tale.
Yeah.
What was the process there for you in freeing yourself up to do that? Was it just it had to happen because too much was happening in your life not to sing about?
I think that's it. I think I think it's exactly that. I just went through some stuff in my life. I just experienced a lot of anxiety, and I was like, life is far too short. What's the logical extension of my career? The music became more important to me at that point, because it became, not only was it writing more of a cathartic process that I needed it to be at the time, it was also what was kind of keeping me going, music and football, proper football. You
mean rugby league?
Do you know what? Rugby league's amazing. In the UK, it's just like Three Men and a Dog up in Wakefield. But over here, it's dips. I'm going to offend some people saying that. But over here, I remember backstage at the Blue Mountains Festival a few years ago, I was watching rugby league. I was like, what is this sport? It's not union. It can't be league, because there's 70,000 people watching and people are really good at it. And amazing sport. Sorry, I digress.
You had so much going on.
I just didn't care enough anymore. I just thought, if I'm going to be happy in the future, music, I need to be able to express myself through my music truly, and I need to feel unshackled from the projections that I was putting on. I was just thinking what people are going to think about, and that's not. I'm sure that's not. That's not only in the folk scene. That's got to be applicable to all kinds of genres, and people from all different backgrounds in music who go through different periods in their career and think, I need to have a bit of a departure, and what are people going to think about it? And for me, it was just writing more honestly about me and about myself, and not feeling guilty for not playing traditional material or kind of pastiches of traditional material. And it still finds its way into my writing, and I'm very much informed by it. I still listen to a lot of traditional music, but it's not what defines me anymore.
You find a way, though, to make those two elements work. I mean, Notes from an Island begins with Spices from the East, which opens out from personal to something more general, to something bigger. It's almost as if you're putting your hurt into a context.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, basically, yeah, and that's good that you feel it comes across, because that's, on the one hand, there's a song about cooking with your partner, on the other hand, it's about colonialism and trade routes and the guilt that comes along with that. And yeah, I think that's the best way that I can do it, is to transform my experience, but put a slant on it that doesn't feel forced, but that I also feel is relevant. And you can make different ties between different things, can't you? And some of my favourite writers write about what's seemingly one thing and then maybe become something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another song on the album that stood out for me is, you played for us today, is Sweet on You, which is such a fine piece of guitar pop on the album.
Thanks.
But I can almost hear it with a bit of extra gloss, suitable for a hat wearer in Nashville. Have you done any writing for hire?
No, I haven't. Have I done any writing for hire? No, I haven't. It's not something I'd be averse to. Like, I think there's an art. There's an art of that kind of classic. There's an art to that classic kind of Nashville songwriting, 3 chords and the truth kind of, you know, verse, chorus, middle 8 chorus kind of thing. The more I travel, the more I appreciate that, I think, but it's not what I do best. So yeah, I write for myself generally, and if it seems applicable to other stuff, then that's cool. But I can hear that. I can hear that. It is a bit of a Nashville song. It's in C as well, and it's like it's quite widescreen on the album in terms of the guitar and the 12-string, and yeah, I can hear that. Yeah, and it references Ry Cooder, who obviously spent a lot of time on the West Coast.
Well, indeed, and in fact, I was going to bring up the Ry Cooder. I mean, you make the point in there that Ry Cooder is a baseline of life with someone. If they're not if they're not there with Ry Cooder, they're not there for you.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough. But I have to ask, if I had a choice between you and your mother, I know which one I'd choose. I know you say this mother has sparkle in her eyes, but it's a bit weird.
It's a little bit weird, yeah. And to be fair,
I haven't met the mother. She may have been fantastic.
The mother was great. She was cool. There's a little bit of artistic license involved. I can't say anything happened. I mean, I have had experiences with older women, but you know, I won't go into that. I won't go into that. I'll tell you that now. But yeah, the Ry Cooder, the mother. Sorry, the mother. Yeah, that's a true story. We were listening to Ry Cooder around the kitchen table, and we used to talk about Little Sister and different Ry Cooder records, and the daughter didn't want to know, and I just thought, nah, you're definitely not the optimum lady in this family. Yeah.
So if maybe we could end with some advice for Australian women, mothers or daughters, is first of all, don't read the tabloids. Don't read the tabloids. Murdoch's news. Secondly, make sure you've got Ry Cooder, at least one. And he's got a new album coming too. So, yeah, so yeah. So make sure you got Ry Cooder in your collection. Those are 2 pieces of advice for Australian women, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I think you could extend that to women you could extend that to anyone. Rules of Life from Blair Dunlop. Rules of Life from Blair Dunlop. Well, thank you very much for those rules, and thanks for your time today. Thank you. Gathered round the fire, weariness released, fruits of earth for hire, spices from the east, burn the midnight oil, troubles take flight, running up the chimney, off into the night. It's a sacred parlance, it's a tie that binds, you fold in your spirit, I'll fold in mine. Love on the table, love on the vine, 2 souls unstable, souls intertwined. I guess I know not why it heals us so. I guess I know not why. I
guess I know not what stirs the pain within our souls, but this time together keeps me high. Each flavor we elect to throw onto the flames, they are each of our children, they bear each of our names. The pot is warming up, simmering the stew. It's 1 part me to 2 parts you. So cut the capers up and drink the vapors in. It's a freedom to me, it's a purging of sin. We share a plate together, and then I'll be at peace. Fortune from the heather, spices from the east. Whatever you think of me, there's no sweetness in my smile, only sweetness in my tooth. Whatever we're drinking should sustain us for a little while. I hope it helps us speak our truth. Arrived in the Middle Ages, money well spent, accepted as wages, peppercorn rent, the depths to the flavor, whatever would work. And you rode to Asia, colonial perks. The world today is different, smaller by the hour, still worth its weight in gold, still sweet and sour. Shouldn't take it for granted, but I do every day. Still sailing all the way down from the Bay of Bombay. Oh, King Charlemagne sowed the finest seeds in the West, filled his garden with sprigs of thyme. And the Crusaders, returning from their sullen quest, opened the roots to a sweeter wine. Well, here I stand, and I stand at your behest, with spices local or Byzantine. Oh, my maritime Silk Road, we are coalesced, we are coalesced whenever we dine. We are coalesced whenever we dine. A puzzle we're searching for every last piece, piecing it together. Spices from the east, gather from the soil, live off all she bears, laugh a little quick before we return there.